Hello, everyone, and welcome to Live, Laugh, Larry, the show where we can all get dad advice from my dad, Larry. Also, my name's McCary.
And I see you've had some blood work.
Yeah, I also had some blood work done, and I need to take this thing off, and I was gonna...
You may bleed out. It's quite a skookum bandage.
It's a skookum bandage.
Must have been a big needle.
For anyone who could see on YouTube, yeah, it's more than a flesh wound, really.
Yeah.
But for the sake of social media and content, I'm now going to take the Band-Aid off live.
All right.
And I have such hairy arms. Oh.
Do it fast.
You
big baby.
Oh my God.
Just pull it off.
Oh, look away if you're woozy. But Dad, a couple of things have happened since our last episode in that we've actually launched Live, Laugh, Larry to the public. All 5 episodes are out in the world. How do you feel being famous now?
It's not. There's a few views. It's fun. It's pretty cool that people have watched it and commented. It's really neat.
We have about 1,090 subscribers on the Live, Laugh, Larry YouTube page, and we have about 468 Spotify listeners. But who's counting?
Yeah, well, I'm not counting because I can't count those ones.
Yeah, I didn't give you access to the Spotify. I figured maybe not. It's already stressful enough for me to have to, not have to, but I get to look at analytics and it stresses me out. So I figured I'd save you from that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You could really dive deep into those ones.
You're so thoughtful.
I'm very thoughtful, but I feel good about the podcast. It's super exciting. Getting 1,000 subscribers in a week was crazy, especially since it took me 5 months to get my original YouTube channel to 1,000 subscribers. So that was fun. That being said, the meta video that I made about making this podcast totally flopped.
I don't know if you call it a flop. I guess what determines a flop? I think it has several thousand views, doesn't it?
That's true. I think as it stands right now, it has 14,000 views, and that's okay, and I should be grateful for that, and I am grateful for that.
Well, you got to start somewhere.
Not many people were interested in my video, and that was my fault because I made it all about ideas. I was trying to make it so that it was applicable to other people because I was like, no one's actually going to care about some random girl being me making a podcast with their dad. So I was like, I'll spin it to be like, how to get your idea into the world because that's applicable to everybody.
Right.
And I think by doing that, I try going after a wider audience with the how to get your idea into the world title. And I didn't capture them because the contents of the video was very personal. It was me and you. And then I also didn't really capture my current audience who actually might be interested in what you and I are up to. So by trying to get everyone, I got less. Not no one, but I got less views than usual.
So you took too big a bite.
I took too big a bite.
Yeah,
I Icarused it. I flew too close to the sun.
Yeah, well, like I said, live and learn. That's what it's all about.
Yeah, exactly. And luckily, Skillshare actually still wants to work with me. So that's nice.
That's bonus.
Yeah. It's a nice surprise. So, but you did mention some comments earlier, so I did want to read out some of the comments that I saw in Live, Laugh, Larry, and I think it gives us a good insight into we should keep going. So the first one is from Kai13KR385, and they say, absolutely love the podcast. I could listen to the banter between you two for hours.
Oh, that's sweet. Are you sure that wasn't Mom?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, Mom comments on my YouTube videos so much so that she gets moved to my spam. Did I tell you that?
No.
I have to actually
go. Does she know that?
No. She does now. I actually have to go through and approve Mom's comments because it's like YouTube thinks it's a bot because she comments on everything. And she also comments on things being like, someone's like, oh, McCary has such a great personality or something. And Mom comments like, doesn't she? And I'm like, get out of here.
Well, she could be saying, no, she doesn't really.
Yeah, I know. Word from the inside, she sucks. 1E Cam N says, this may be my new favorite podcast.
Oh, that's cool.
Pretty good. 2 more. Rin Marie 7224 says, I've been listening to these while I work out and I'm beyond stoked for more episodes. So
wow.
You and I have very motivational voices for workouts, apparently.
Oh, I see. Okay. We're not putting them to sleep as long as we're not listening to them to go to sleep.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess if anyone's listening to this during their workout right now, one more set, lift that weight. Any motivational words you have to say for someone working out?
for someone working out. I don't. You said it. You did a good job. You put me on the spot again. Trying to think of a workout thing. Just a little rah.
That's what you have to say.
Yeah.
Rah.
Huzzah. What? I don't know. It's all military. I don't know. Edit this out.
Dear Larry, I'm trying to finish one last rep of a workout. What do you say to me to inspire me to work out?
I would say, you can do this.
Good one, Dad.
Wussy.
All right. Last one from Inez N9466. You have really good shirt taste, Larry.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
Yeah.
This one's pretty blah.
I don't know. I think you look strong.
Oh, that was very nice to say.
It is. You look strong.
Oh, good.
No, you do have really good shirt taste, but a little behind the scenes for anyone who's interested. Mere moments ago, Dad's holding up shirts going, which one do I wear?
Well, I knew we got feedback about the shirt, so I wasn't sure if I should wear a collar or like one of those, like a bow tie or something.
Yeah.
Like a tux or something. Like
Yeah.
that.
A lot of the comments, I didn't read all of them because I didn't want to put you on the spot and make you uncomfortable, but a lot of them seem to really like you. So you're the star. And to even prove that, just going through Instagram on the Live Laugh Larry pod Instagram page, we post pictures of me doing the weekly task, and then we post a picture of you doing the weekly task. Without fail, every time you get double the likes of me.
Oh, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, it's going to go right to my head.
Yeah.
Be careful. Yeah. I'll be watching now to see how much more than twice as many as you have I'm getting.
Yeah. So anyone who's out there, if you want to make Dad feel better about himself, you can keep liking his pictures at the same rate that you're liking them. If you want to make me feel a little bit better about my life, you can like my pictures too. Just kidding. I don't check. I just noticed it while I was putting together some numbers for this podcast of how well we're doing.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. But another really cool thing is for the people who sent in their questions in advance, the 12 or so people that were so kind to send in their questions before this podcast even going anywhere, I've been keeping in touch with them, specifically Yarda. And
very nice.
Yeah, he's been super helpful. And I asked him for feedback on the podcast, and he sent back, I don't even think I told you this, he sent back paragraphs upon paragraphs of feedback, all helpful, and just a technical feedback, storytelling feedback. And it was amazing and so helpful. So Yarda, I really appreciate it. Thank you for doing that. And he also sends me stuff on Instagram every now and then of like editing tools and tips and techniques that I could be taking on. So yeah, it's just really cool. YouTube has...
Yeah, it's especially cool when Yarda's from the Czech Republic, isn't
Yeah.
he? Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what blows me away about all of this stuff, and how many of those folks that have been listening and sending stuff are from all over the place.
Yeah.
It's pretty special.
Have your friends said anything? Do your friends like the podcast?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, in fact, some people have surprised me. Some folks that I wouldn't have thought would listen to it have reached out and said they thought it was really neat. Nobody's said, yes, sound like an idiot yet, you know. And there's probably a couple that think, you know, who's that pompous, you know, whatever. Well, what about you? I noticed that somebody recognized you when you're at a music festival the other day.
Yeah.
That's not from the podcast, though. That's from
Yeah, she didn't mention anything about the Live Laugh Larry podcast, unfortunately. But yeah, it was actually really funny. I was at a music festival on a very small island. I go with friends and my partner every year, and the island only has about 3,000 people on it. Moral of the story, it's a very small music festival, and I was wearing overalls. And a little piece of advice for anybody out there: don't wear overalls to a music festival with porta potties, because taking those off, it's so difficult. It's so difficult. Yeah. So yeah, mistakes were made. I do it every year though, because we all dress in denim together. And I have my denim overalls. But anyway, I just had come out of the porta potty, and my friend, this guy, was in a porta potty on the other side, and he was coming out. And I look at him, and I look at the crowd of people waiting to use the porta potties, and I'm like, overalls, am I right? Don't wear them to a music festival. And this girl, a woman named Elaine, where I later found out her name, she just walked up to me and she's like, excuse me. And I was like, yeah. And she's like, do you have a YouTube channel? And I said, yes. And then my friend, who's just come out of his outhouse, he was like, "Oh my God, I can't believe this is happening." And he's so excited. He looks like his eyes are twinkling. He looked like a little kid. And he's just like standing and watching, just like, I can't believe this is happening. And I was just like, "Oh yeah, I do." And she's like, "I just binged watched all of your videos." And it was cool. I asked where she was from, and she told me where she's from. And
that's cool.
yeah, it was just super cool. And then she went in and out house because obviously she'd been waiting.
She was waiting. Was she wearing?
She was wearing overalls. And I was like, oh, in my mind, I didn't say this, but I was like,
spirits.
Yeah, I'm like, best of luck in there, man, because like it was my hell wearing overalls in an outhouse. But anyway, yeah. So then I went back to my group of friends and my boyfriend, and everyone's giving me hugs, and they're like, "That's so cool, McGarry."
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So yeah, it's been good. I don't know if that's not an outcome of the podcast, but it is cool to see that people actually watch my YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think to be fair to the podcast, I think the podcast is probably getting some views because of your YouTube channel.
I think so.
I think so.
Yeah. I don't think this podcast
I don't think it's riding my shirt tails, as cool as they might be.
Yeah.
I don't think it's riding my shirt tails.
No, more of the story. Thank you to everybody who has been watching, listening, and subscribing and commenting, rating us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It all means so much, and we really appreciate it, and we love reading your comments.
Yeah, it's really neat.
Yeah. So I guess to get us going into these things in typical fashion of the podcast, do you have a story to prove that you're my dad?
Yeah, I think one of my it was don't want to say favorite memory because it had the potential to be very painful for you. Was when we lived on an acreage, and it had a very big rancher of a house, and McCarry's bedroom was at the far end of the house, and our bedroom was at obviously the other end of the house, and there was in the kitchen in the middle of the house was a big island, and she would have been 3.5, 4 years old, and in the middle of the night she'd start sleeping in her own bed, but she would inevitably end up in with us. But she had to make that trek. And I mean, it was far enough. It was a big house. It was far enough she had to pack a lunch. But she was always running. And I can always remember thinking, has she grown tall enough that she's going to hit her forehead on the ledge of the island as she goes by? Because you could hear her just coming across there. And I remember standing you under that island and making sure you had space to go under it.
Mom said I looked like Chucky.
Yeah.
As a child, and I did.
Yeah.
Like the little creepy puppet doll boy.
Well, I take that. I'm a little offended because a lot of people said you looked like me, and they called you McLarry because you look so much like me. So I take that. I thought you were pretty cute.
That's the narcissism. All right. Well, I now think it's a good time to hear our first question. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right. This one comes from Andie.
Hi, Larry. So I was clearly just watching the podcast, and I'm Andie, they, them pronouns, and I had a question for you. So I am dating a boy who's very nice. I've been dating him for almost 4 years in September, and we're moving in together next month. And I've never lived with a significant other before, and we're also going from long distance to close distance. So, is there anything that I should know about living with a significant other? I lived with boys before. I have 3 older brothers, so I'm used to all that. But anything about cohabitating with each other that might change the relationship, something that I can look out for, something that I should prioritize. Any advice is appreciated. And I love the podcast. Love you both. Bye.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting transition. You've said you lived with brothers, so that's probably a good heads up, some of those things. But just in general, I think moving in with someone, there's a bit of, has to be a little bit of give and take because your stuff, you both have stuff, and now you're going to have double the stuff, and you're going to have to decide which stuff gets a place and which stuff is most important. And I guess I would say, you have to honor each other's sentimentality towards their important stuff. I think of my wife. We have one of her dad's chairs, and it's an old chair that I'm sure my father-in-law bought at a garage sale when he bought it, and it's not a great chair, not that comfortable. It's not that great to look at, but It's her dad's chair, and it's very important. So there was no question that it's got a place in the house. What would you say? You've just recently moved into a new apartment. Were there any things that Jackson wanted to bring into that you in hindsight were not as accepting as you could have been? Just wondered.
Well, I'm a perfect person, so I don't think I did anything wrong ever at any point. No, I honestly, it helped that I like his style a lot, so I was really happy to welcome his things into my home. All right. Okay. Next question we have from Tom.
Hey, I'm Tom O'Carroll from the United Kingdom, and as someone who's in their early 30s, just figuring stuff out, I'd love to know what you think are some things or something that everybody needs to try in their 30s to, really get the most out of life. So please let me know. Thank you. Have a great podcast.
Okay. Thanks for the question, Tom. I have to admit, if I could go back to being 30, which is over 30 years ago, there are some things that I would, and it's not that I have regrets, but there are some things that I would have tried sooner. The Japanese have a word, ikigai, for purpose. And it's, if you can picture a Venn diagram with 4 bubbles creating this center that with purpose or ikigai written in the middle. One of them is something that pays you, a living wage. Mm-hmm. Another one is something you're passionate about doing every day. Another one is what you're good at doing every day. And another one is what's good for other people and good for the world every day. And if you think about that, now I'm getting a little deep, Tom, but and probably long-winded too. But if you think about that, if we all did something that paid our bills, that we were passionate about, that we were good at doing, and that was good for the world and for others around us, this would be a pretty,
pretty good gig.
Pretty good gig and a pretty good place for all of us.
Maybe you wish that you had strayed away from was getting too comfortable in your 30s. It's like, I could see myself going down that path. I'm 26, and I could see, I had the project manager job, I had the partner and the apartment, and I kind of figured, I've done it. I don't need to learn anything else. This is good. And then I got laid off, and I'm doing the whole YouTube thing, and it's opened my eyes to this whole other world of problems and fun things, and it's a whole different life from what I was living. And now that I'm doing the YouTube stuff, I could see how comfortable I got. And maybe comfortable is not the right word, because comfort's actually a lovely thing, obviously, and it's a very privileged place, but maybe complacent was where I got a little bit when I was, last year, and I didn't realize how bored I was. So I guess maybe that doesn't make much sense, but I think it's kind of what you're saying maybe a little bit, and what I like to try to do now is it's that whole lifelong learning thing.
That's a really good point. If I think about, I had lots of changes in my career, even though it was all in education. It was a lot of different types of jobs, different levels of students, different levels of administration, and so on. I never really got bored with that. Overwhelmed at times, but not bored. But if you're someone who's got a job that you're good at, and it pays the bills, and it's but you're finding it's starting to be too comfortable, or you're feeling complacent, maybe it's time to add some spice to that. Is there something you can bring to work, your work, that is an added bonus, an added skill? I think of yourself with the skills you're picking up to do with this YouTube, because anybody that knows anything about YouTube videos will know that it's a lot of work. The editing and the audio, the video, the planning, the writing, all of those components of it are in and of themselves, they're a skill, and they're something that you have to work at to get better at. At some point in your life, whether it's as a parent making movies for my grandchild, I slipped in there like a little advertisement, like a Skillshare advertisement.
Today is brought to you by Surprise!
My grandchild. But anyway,
Yeah, right.
No, but those skills would be not only applicable to your life and family, but also to, if you should decide to go back into the workforce, those skills that you picked up outside of traditional your traditional work days will be a bonus and make you, I think, make you enjoy your work more and probably make you a more valuable employee.
I don't know where I saw this, read it, watched it in a video probably, but you could have, if we're talking about years of experience, you could have 10 years of experience. Like if you're applying for a job, it's like, yeah, I had 10 years of experience as a project manager, but maybe that was 10 years of the same thing. I basically had 1 year over and over again managing the same projects, working with the same teams. Or you maybe only have 3 years of experience, but in year one you were managing teams that dealt with marketing, and then the second year you were managing teams that were, I don't know, building buildings. So it's, if thinking of your years of experience in a different way, of it's, you know, you may only have 3 years of experience, but you had different years or different months versus Carl in accounting. Well, I don't want to pick on Carl from accounting, or that's not a real person. Or you could be,
I know who Carl.
or you could be,
I don't know.
I know, or you could be John Doe in some field who's just done the same thing over and over again for 10 years. So yeah, lifelong learning.
There you go.
Is good.
Exactly.
Yeah. And also, speaking of talking about how difficult YouTube is, Tom knows exactly how difficult YouTube is because he's a YouTube friend that I made. He makes YouTube videos. Check him out on Tom O'Carroll on YouTube. He has way more subscribers than me, so you are likely to know of him more than
that's awesome. Well, again, thanks for the question, Tom. I really appreciate you taking the time, and I appreciate you putting up with my answer.
Yeah, we all had to put up with it. Thank God we made it through that one. But I think, you know, we talked so much at the beginning of this that I don't even think we are going to have time for a third one. So we're going to wrap it up if that's okay with you.
Yeah, that suits me just fine.
All right. It's time for the final segment. And usually it's, what the heck is your problem? But I've changed it because I want it to be a little bit more positive. So now the new segment is called Larry Loves, plus things that McCary likes too.
Oh, no.
So, Dad, what's something that Larry loves lately?
Larry loves lately. Well, you know, I went out and I treated myself and bought myself something called a showbox, which is an amplifier with a cassette basically that comes off the side, and it acts as a mixing board. So I'm looking forward to spending some time playing with that. And in the little town I live in, go out where there's other elder buskers who people are very patient with and kind to.
Good work, buddy.
And so I've made a point in the last few weeks now of going and standing beside the buskers and smiling and clapping and putting money in their guitar case.
So they do the same for you?
Well, just so that if they see me, they're not mean.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you're not on their turf.
No.
Hey, this is my corner.
What are your Larry loves right now, other than your new apartment?
Something that I have been loving lately, out of left field, sports. More specifically, golf.
Wow.
I know. I've changed.
Yeah.
I don't know who I used to be. I don't know who I am now. I'm lost. But I actually watched golf.
So are you playing it?
No, I just watched it.
You're watching golf.
I just put it on the TV. Well, I didn't put it on the TV. Jackson wakes up at like 5:30 in the morning to watch Tiger tee off. And then he's never made me watch Tiger. He's not a psychopath, but like we'll watch Tiger together because, you know, one of my favorite things about Jackson is he gets me into sports by relating it to a sport that I already know. So I know volleyball. So he'll be like, oh, so the way he's doing that is similar to how you would do this in volleyball. Sometimes it's a really big stretch, but I can appreciate the effort. Yeah. So he does that. And then also very similar to you and how you kind of got me interested in watching hockey is you tell me not their life story, but you give me information on them of like, this guy's a really good person because they
children's books.
They wrote children's books.
Zach Hyman.
Like Zach Hyman, yeah. So like all those things. It's like, oh, well, now I'm going to like this guy. And it makes me even, well, it comes down to the Oilers and Florida Panthers game that I watched the other day. And it's like, oh, shoot, the Oilers didn't win. But then you watch all the Panthers and they're happy and smiling and they have life stories too.
Absolutely.
And it just...
They're Canadian. Most of them are Canadian kids who've always wanted to score the winning goal in the 7th game of the Stanley Cup.
Exactly. And they lost last year. So it's just, you know, I always root, and you do this too for the most part. it's like we just root for the team with the best story at that time because everyone's just, we're all human. So anyway, I'm into sports lately because I'm learning that it's just like musical theater, but not rehearsed. It's live, baby. So it's very interesting if you think of it that way. Do you know much about Rory McIlroy?
I know that he's Irish.
Yes,
and
he's
I know
Irish.
he's a pretty darn good golfer.
He's a great golfer, but he hasn't won what's it called?
A major.
A major. Wow, look at you. He hasn't won a major in like 14 years or something.
Yeah.
He was this close to getting it. He misses his putt and he does like, I don't know sports. He misses, and it was something like he had not missed that shot because they have all the statistics to really rub it in their faces.
Yeah.
It's like he hasn't missed that shot in like he's been 42 for 42 of all those shots this whole year. The one time he misses was to lose the U.S. Open or something.
Wow.
It's just heart-wrenching, and it makes you feel so bad for the guy. Not that bad, because he obviously still made millions of dollars. Anyway, I'm losing my voice, so I'm going to do this part really quickly. Well, that's all we have time for. How do you think we did, Dad?
I know for a fact I got long-winded. I like the chairs this way.
Yeah. We're actually like looking at each other, not like awkwardly.
Yeah.
We're still figuring out how to do it. Is it like, are we talking to each other? Are we talking to the person asking for advice? Are we haha banter? Or are we like deep thing? So actually, this is a good time to mention. If anyone has any feedback, if it's like constructive feedback, maybe message us personally on Instagram. If it's really positive, yay feedback, keep doing, then you can post it publicly. Yeah. No, that's actually something I got advice and I learned when working. It was always give the constructive feedback privately and positive feedback publicly. Yeah. Because no one wants to.
That is good advice, and it maintains relationships. And it protects old guys' feelings.
And it protects, everything that I learned in the workforce is how to protect old white guys' feelings, actually.
Be nice.
Yeah.
But I agree with you. We're a sensitive crew.
Yeah. To close things off, I want to send the two of us and whoever's out there listening out into the world with a task. And this week's task is to take a bag of stuff from your apartment and throw it away. Ideally donate it. You don't want it to be trash. Everyone's got stuff and it feels really good to get rid of stuff. And I just moved. I got rid of many bags. So that's your task. So if you do feel so inclined, please share a picture or video of you dropping off that stuff or you with your bag and tag us at livelaughlarrypod on Instagram. And if you enjoy this episode, please give us a 5-star review. And if you're watching on YouTube, please like, subscribe, and comment. And lastly, if you're in need of some dad advice, please send in your video recording or audio message to either livelaughlarrypod@gmail.com or by clicking the link in the description. I set up a Google form. Because Yarda gave it to me as feedback. He's like, hey, it's probably more difficult for people to go and email you. Just have a Google form. So thanks, Yarda. The end.
All right, the end.